When you play the Game of Thrones, you
Subscribe and like.
or you die. There is no middle ground.
Alright, hello YouTube, welcome back to the Grease Goblins YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to be talking about what if Robert had actually survived the boar hunt and made it back to King's Landing. What really would have changed within the story and what could have, happened differently. But before we get into the video, if you guys like to like, subscribe, and comment for more of this type of content, please do. It helps the channel reach other people that might like this content. And let's get into it. Also, I wanted to say, after I recorded this video was actually brought to you by somebody that said they wanted this video in the comments. So if you guys have anything else you'd want me to do, like what ifs or character videos, predictions, or kind of like analysis of their lives or whatever, let me know down in the comments. I will try to get to them as soon as I can. I'm a little bit busy with school work and just trying to upload consistently, but I will try my best. So yeah, hope you guys all enjoy the video. So as the current story goes, Robert goes on this boar hunt, right? And Ned is kind of left to be in this hand of the king role where he's kind of ruling while Robert's gone. And Ned more or less poses this situation where Cersei needs to leave with the children, or Ned's going to tell Robert. And in this scenario, Robert actually is going to make it back to King's Landing unhurt. So what's going to change in this scenario right off the bat is, one, Cersei, her children are dead. Jaime would still be alive in this situation, but he will be dead sooner or later. And then the next big thing here would be Marjorie would then be married to Robert, because Renly had already been plotting this, and I think this is a good alliance, and even Robert would see that, and he has to remarry to get actual heirs. That would make a lot of sense there as well. Now, the next big thing would be Tywin would be an open rebellion then against the crown. Now, you'd be thinking here, okay, what can Tywin do to win this war? Realistically, there's nothing, because every single power would be against Tywin. The only one that might not be directly against him would be maybe the Vale, but because of Littlefinger's meddling and all that. But even then, I think the Littlefinger would be forced to have the Vale kind of support this whole, the crown and stuff like that. Because of the fact is, like, if all these forces beat down Tywin and all that, and then you're looking at Lysa, and she just didn't do anything, it raises a lot of red flags for Robert and Ned and all that. And I just don't think it's a good move by Lysa or Littlefinger. With that being said, I do believe Dorne would also come into this seeing easy revenge on House Lannister. Yeah, they would come into this war effort. I know they don't like Robert that much either. But again, I think the main thing for the Dornish forces is not that they want the Targaryens to be on the throne, but more that they want revenge on the Lannisters. Now, if they can get the best of both worlds, they would also do that. But this early in the war, Dany's not really a thing yet. I think the Dornish forces would come in and the Tywin party would be dead. I think the Lannisters would all but be extinct for the most part, except for like more of the minor Lannisters that maybe are like tied to other houses like the Freys and stuff like that. But Tyrion would be dead, Jaime's dead, Tywin's dead, all the major Lannisters dead. Now, what I think results of this is a Westeros that is fairly united. Now, what I think is really interesting within this whole what if is that Daenerys would actually die. Because Barristan is the one that actually does save Daenerys from the Manticore that is sent by the, Wizards of Karth. So, in this situation, Dany would also die. With that being said, this is very interesting now, because I think for the most part, there'd be relative peace within the Westeros, because really what would happen that would create a bunch of chaos, right? I don't think there's a lot that Littlefinger can really do in this situation besides bide his time. Same with Varys at this point, seeing that Dany would be dead, her dragons would either be killed or would be in possession of some slavers or something like that at this point. Viserys would be dead. He'd have Fagon left, but again, like, what are you really going to do? I mean, you only really would have the support of the Golden Company, maybe the Dornish forces. I think they'd be crushed by Robert and really all these forces that are still combined with Ned as well. So with that being said, I think a lot changes in that regard. And I think if you look at all of the Stark children, all of their plots vastly change. Sansa, I think, is free to marry again. I don't know who Ned would look to marry her to, because there really wouldn't be a Baratheon heir to kind of marry her to. Arya would not have to leave King's Landing and go on the run and go through all these experiences and then end up in Bravos. That wouldn't happen. She would just stay with Ned and probably continue to train with Syrio Forel. Looking at Robb, he would never end up dying at the Red Wedding. He would just kind of stay as Lord of Winterfell for a little bit until I believe that Ned would go back. The rest of the children, again, Bran would be another big one where he would not go north of the wall and do those like Three-Eyed Raven kind of role. So a lot of things would change in that there's not a lot of chaos within Westeros. I think Westeros, from right now, would be relatively peaceful until the others did come. But even then, I think the North would be a lot more prepared, and the country as a whole would be a lot more prepared because there would be no war going on. Ned would understand the threat, especially when Benjen and Jon and all these people are telling him that there's a big threat and the wildlings coming and stuff like that. I think personally, Robert's relationship with Ned would make all of Westeros way more united. And that's kind of how I look at this. And I think this is really one of the few situations where I think the forces of the living actually have a shot to win. Because if you look at Euron, right? And if we look at the Greyjoys, the way I think the wall is going to come down is because of Euron. I think Euron, more or less, is going to get to Old Town. I think he's going to take the Horn of Winter from Sam and blow down the wall. That is how I believe that's going to happen. Now, in this scenario, I don't believe Sam would have actually been sent, south to go to Old Town. But if he is, even if he is, and he takes the Horn of Winter, I don't think Euron would have been in control of the Greyjoys. I just don't think there was a good situation for Euron to overthrow Balon. And even if he did, I just don't think this whole thing would work out where Euron goes into open rebellion with the Greyjoys. I think that, Robert and all the forces combined of Westeros would just crush the Greyjoys. So for me, I don't see the wall coming down. So with all these combined forces being able to defend the wall, replenish the wall, and help suppress the forces of the dead or the others, I think the living would win in this scenario. Let me know if you guys think that's different. Now, one big thing here could be not having the dragons could really hurt them, because in a lot of these other scenarios, usually Westeros is at war, Dany comes over, and then she really doesn't give all the information to kind of defend the wall and stuff, and it would be too late, that the North would already have fallen. So would the dragons be enough? And usually in those situations, I don't think so. But in this situation, if all of Westeros united, the wall wouldn't be coming down. Maybe there's something other workaround that makes the others be able to get through the wall. But in this situation, let's just say the others can't get through the wall. I think the others would lose. Let me know what you guys think on that. But as we can see, I'm also going to go back in the timeline a little bit. I also want to say that Ned, I talked about this a little briefly earlier, I don't think Ned would stay as Hand of the King. I think once all of the war had concluded and there was relative peace, I think Ned would say, Robert, I'm going home. You don't need me anymore. I want to go home with my children. I think he would leave. I then think you either have two options for Hand of the King. I think this would either go to Stannis or Renly. Not sure which one Robert would go for. I feel like he would lean towards Stannis, but then at times we see Robert disrespecting Stannis all the time, so maybe it would be kind of a Storm's End situation all over again, where Robert doesn't give it to Stannis, he gives it to Renly, and that's kind of how the Hand of the King goes. But I'm not sure on that. Let me know what you guys think on this theory. If there's anything I'm majorly missing, I just think this is a huge thing, and this is something I've talked about in my Is Ned Stupid video. It's one of my favorite videos I've done on the channel, because I think it's something that a lot of people look over, and I think it's something worth talking about. You may not agree with me, but I think it's worth talking about. But I would definitely check out that video, because the reason Ned loses is almost kind of luck and kind of really, really good odds for Cersei. Everything goes right for Cersei to be able to win this situation. This really wasn't good planning by Cersei in general, right? It was really a lot of good fortune, favored her, and she was able to make these plans, right? Like Sansa telling Cersei about Ned's plans and all that, and Robert dying just before Ned's going to tell him, all of his children are bastards. A lot of, key things went right for Cersei that just really didn't go right for Ned. And you also look at Catelyn handling all of those situations horribly, that you kind of see that and you go, yeah, there's a lot of things that went wrong for Ned that really were almost out of his control. Even though there were things that he could have controlled, like, trusting Littlefinger, even though Catelyn was the one who sent him on that path. But yeah, Let me know what you guys think on this video. Also, if there are some other things you guys want me to talk about, let me know.
If you think this has a happy ending, you haven't been paying attention.